My daughter, blinded by my ex's lies, called me a deadbeat, all while I silently paid for her school, clothes, and life without credit. Fine. That was the moment I taught her exactly what ingratitude costs. My uncle, once a close figure, drew me to his birthday. Then, my family shamed me, labeling me an ATM. So, I offered them a lesson they'll never forget. The overlooked son. I'm a 26-year-old man, and I've always felt like the overlooked child in my family. Not truly invisible, but effectively so, given how my parents treated me compared to my sister, Bailey, who is 21. Growing up, it was consistently Bailey this and Bailey that, while I merely existed in the background. I recall one instance in high school when I secured first place in a statewide programming competition. I genuinely surpassed students from all the prestigious, technology-focused private schools. I returned home with a substantial trophy, and my parents merely reacted with, "Oh, that's nice, dear. Did you hear Bailey made the volleyball team? Not even varsity, just junior varsity volleyball." They took her out for ice cream that evening while I remained home, eating leftover pizza. This type of incident was a constant occurrence. Allow me to provide a bit more historical context regarding our family dynamics. My parents weren't always like this. When I was very young, before Bailey was born, when I was 5, my dad and I shared a strong bond. We'd go fishing, work on his old Mustang together, typical father-son activities. Mom would read me bedtime stories and tuck little notes into my lunchbox. Then Bailey arrived when I was 5, and everything transformed. Bailey was born with some minor health complications, nothing life-threatening, just some respiratory issues that necessitated additional doctor visits for the first couple of years. I understand that it frightened my parents and they had to devote more attention to her. That is entirely comprehensible. But even after she was completely healthy, the pattern persisted. It was as if they had learned to perceive her as the delicate one who required all their focus, and me as the resilient one who would manage regardless of the circumstances. By middle school, it was quite evident I was emotionally on my own. I was the child who woke himself for school, prepared his own lunches, and navigated the city bus to get to soccer practice because mom and dad were perpetually at Bailey's dance recital or some other event. I became exceptionally self-sufficient. Out of sheer necessity. Things did not improve as we matured either. When I tirelessly worked to earn a full scholarship to college, my parents merely reacted with, "That's nice," and then proceeded to discuss Bailey's weekend plans for the next hour. When I secured my first genuine job immediately after graduation, silence. But when Bailey was hired at a smoothie shop for summer work, it was deemed a momentous occasion to celebrate the family's prodigy. What's even more disconcerting is that I've been contributing a substantial portion of Bailey's college tuition, $1,800 a month for the past 3 years. Why? Because I've achieved financial success. I secured a good job in technology directly after college, made some astute investments that yielded returns, and purchased a respectable condominium in a pleasant neighborhood. Meanwhile, my parents and Uncle Rick, Bailey's most ardent supporter, continue to act as if I owe the family this money since I seemingly have so much to spare. The most frustrating aspect is that I continued to pay it, believing perhaps they would finally acknowledge my worth. The financial burden. Here's how the entire process of funding Bailey's college education began. After completing my computer science degree, which I obtained on a full scholarship, and while working part-time in the campus IT department, I secured a lucrative position at a tech startup. 6 months in, we were acquired by a larger corporation, and all early employees received retention bonuses. It wasn't an incredibly life-altering sum, but definitely a significant amount, approximately $45,000. I made the mistake of mentioning this to my parents during Sunday dinner. My dad literally sat me down after my first substantial bonus and declared, "Your sister requires assistance with college, and you're performing exceptionally well now. Your mother and I simply lack the financial resources to provide her with the education she merits." What was I to say? These are the individuals who raised me, even if they performed poorly at making me feel important. Furthermore, I had just received this windfall and possessed the funds readily available. So, I assented, presuming it would be a one-time contribution to help them commence her freshman year. But then, Dad returned with, "Actually, we were considering. You could cover the tuition payments." When I inquired about the amount, he stated, "Approximately $1,800 a month." I nearly choked. That sum exceeded my mortgage payment. However, they subjected me to an extensive guilt trip about how Bailey wasn't as fortunate as I was, because apparently my scholarships were a result of luck and not the consequence of my arduous effort in maintaining straight A's. So I agreed, thinking it might finally garner me some genuine acknowledgement within the family. It became an expectation. Every month, for 3 years, $1,800 was transferred from my account to Bailey's university. That amounts to over $64,000 in total. Did I receive a thank you? Rarely. Did my parents ever recognize the sacrifice? No. Did Bailey behave gratefully? Absolutely not. She'd post social media videos showcasing her shopping sprees and weekend excursions while I was over here working 50-plus hours a week to sustain my own life and contribute to hers. I understand how this sounds, as if I'm some envious individual who can't handle his sister receiving attention. But trust me, it ran far deeper than that. This wasn't merely about attention. It was about the profound feeling that you are literally inconsequential to your own family unless your wallet is open. The final insult, so anyway, last weekend is when everything truly erupted. My mom called me a few days prior, stating they were hosting a small family dinner for Uncle Rick's birthday on Saturday and my presence would mean a great deal. I should have known better, honestly. They never invite me to anything unless it's somehow related to Bailey or they require me to financially contribute. But like an idiot, I thought perhaps this time would be different. Uncle Rick and I used to share a good bond when I was younger, before he joined the Bailey fan club. He taught me how to fish, helped me assemble my first computer, all those typical uncle activities. So I agreed. Yeah, I'd be there. I even purchased a thoughtful gift for Uncle Rick, a vintage fishing lure set I found online that matched the ones he used to reminisce about from his childhood. It cost me about $200, but I believed it would be meaningful. It just highlights my foolishness. When I arrived at the restaurant, I instantly realized I had been manipulated. The place was teeming with people, my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all seated around this long table adorned with decorations. This wasn't solely Uncle Rick's birthday. It was yet another platform to showcase Bailey. Then I noticed the sign, "Happy birthday, Uncle Rick." And congrats, Bailey. I had to clench my jaw to prevent myself from uttering something I would regret. Of course, they'd hijack someone's birthday to make it about her again. I attempted to locate a seat, but get this. Bailey looked up at me with this smug grin and remarked, "Oh, didn't expect you to actually show." Loud enough for everyone to hear. My mom just gave me this nervous look. "Well, she began, but Bailey cut her off with an irritating laugh. "I mean, this is for family who are actually around," she said, gesturing at the table where every single chair was occupied. Everyone was already consuming appetizers and beverages. Even Uncle Rick beamed at her as if she were the center of the universe. That's when it dawned on me. There wasn't even a seat reserved for me. They literally hadn't planned on my being there, despite inviting me. I scanned the entire table twice to ensure I wasn't overlooking anything. "There's nowhere for me to sit," I stated to my mom, who couldn't even meet my gaze. "We weren't certain you'd come," she mumbled, fiddling with her napkin. "You're so busy these days." Bailey laughed again. "Or care enough to show up." "Yeah, the stuff they never inform me about until after it happens." "Cool." My dad finally noticed the situation and said, "We can ask the server to bring another chair." But he uttered it in a way that made it clear it was a huge inconvenience, as if I were gate-crashing their celebration instead of being an invited guest. I looked around at all these faces, individuals who were supposedly my family, and not one of them appeared bothered by the fact that no one had saved me a seat. No one was shifting to create space. No one was offering their chair. They were all simply staring at me as if I were the problem. It turned out the entire event was half Uncle Rick's birthday and half a celebration of Bailey's acceptance into some summer internship program, something any college junior could apply for. But my family acted as though she had discovered a cure for cancer. Meanwhile, I've been covering a substantial portion of her tuition bills and never even received a "thanks, bro." I stood there awkwardly for a moment, still trying to grasp if they were seriously not going to acknowledge the fact I had nowhere to sit. Feeling eyes upon me, I finally turned toward Bailey and asked, forcing composure into my voice, "You really couldn't have saved me a single seat?" Bailey looked at me, rolling her eyes dramatically, as if I had ruined her evening merely by existing. I mean, you're never at family gatherings, she stated. Besides, she continued, loud enough so everyone could hear her. It's not like he's ever happy for me anyway. Remember when I made the dean's list last semester? I posted about it, and he didn't even comment. It's probably because he's jealous I'm finally succeeding. I felt heat rise to my face. The dean's list she was boasting about was literally the semester I'd paid extra from my own funds to cover the specialized tutoring she demanded because she was too overwhelmed by regular classes. And here she was, playing the victim, acting as though I had never supported her whatsoever. Uncle Rick chuckled and leaned toward her, patting her shoulder proudly. Ignore him, sweetheart, he said loud enough for the table. Some people just can't handle when the spotlight isn't on them for once. He nudged me as if trying to convey that he was merely joking. Bailey laughed again, clearly relishing the attention. She glanced back up at me with a smug little smirk. Oh, by the way, she added casually, twirling her hair around her finger, I really need you to be quicker with tuition next month. They sent me an annoying late notice this time, and it's honestly super embarrassing. If you're going to do it, could you at least do it correctly? My jaw tightened as disbelief and anger warred within me. I'd never been late once, not a single payment in 3 whole years. And she dared to complain publicly, as if I were her personal assistant who had bungled her coffee order. The entire table was staring at me now, some amused, others awkwardly. Avoiding eye contact, Mom just fiddled with her fork while Dad pretended to re-examine the menu, both silent as usual. Bailey, sensing she'd struck a nerve, turned back to her food, smiling victoriously as if she'd just won a game she loved playing. I should have erupted right there. Should have tossed my wallet at them and stormed out. But I just nodded, said, okay. I turned around and left. I didn't even look back. The gift for Uncle Rick remained in my car, and no one even attempted to stop me. The last straw in the silence as I walked to my car, I made my definitive decision, not another penny. For Bailey's education, not one more dollar. I assumed I'd receive at least a few texts asking where I'd gone, but no. Complete silence for the remainder of the night. As if my departure didn't even register on their radar. I checked social media later that night and saw Bailey had posted pictures from the dinner with captions like, best night with my real family, and a group photo where everyone was squeezed together at the table, a table that clearly had no room for me by design. I ordered a pizza, cracked open a soda, and binged Fallout on Amazon because, honestly, the wasteland of a video game made more sense than my family. While I was sitting there, wallowing in my self-pity, I started scrolling through old photos. On my phone, I found this picture from my college graduation, just me in my cap and gown standing alone. My parents and Bailey couldn't make it because Bailey had some volleyball tournament that weekend. Uncle Rick was supposed to come, but texted last minute about a work emergency. I ended up celebrating with my roommates instead. Looking back, that was a huge warning sign I should have paid attention to. Then the next day, my phone chimed around 2 p.m. I checked it and nearly choked on my coffee. It was a Venmo request from my mom for $1,750 with the description, Uncle Rick's birthday dinner plus Bailey celebration. Not even a preliminary text, not even an hey, sorry there wasn't a seat for you last night. Just a direct money request, as if I were the server who forgot to bring the check. And that's when it hit me, not as a shock, but as confirmation. The sheer audacity. This was precisely how they perceived me. Not a son, not a brother, not even a guest, just a wallet on legs. I sat there staring at the screen, not even angry at first, just stunned. They couldn't be bothered to save me a chair. But they remembered. To invoice me. I mean, who needs enemies when your own family sends you a Venmo request like you're their personal benefactor? But the longer I stared at it, the more the numbness began to dissipate, replaced by a slow boil. This wasn't solely about money. It was about respect, about being treated like a backup generator for everyone else's lives. Always on standby, always expected to contribute, but never expected to feel. And for the first time in a long time, I felt no guilt. I felt powerful. That $1,750 request wasn't just a bill. It was the absolute last straw, and I was done being the person who endured it simply to maintain peace. Not this time. The truth unveiled 5 minutes later, my mom called. Hey, I answered coldly. Did you see my Venmo request? She asked, skipping any greeting. Yeah, I saw it. So, when are you going to pay it? The restaurant's already charged my card. I actually laughed out loud. I'm not. There was a pause. What do you mean you're not? I mean, I'm not paying for a dinner I wasn't even welcome at. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped. Of course, you were welcome. We invited you, didn't we? There wasn't even a chair for me, Mom. Well, we weren't sure you'd show up. You're so busy these days. I took a deep breath. And yet, you still expect me to pay the bill? You've always helped out with family expenses, she said as if it were obvious. You're doing so well financially, and this was a special occasion for Bailey and Uncle Rick. Right? I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Another special occasion for Bailey. What a rare event. Don't be petty, Mom said. It's not attractive. You know what else isn't attractive? Treating your son like an ATM while not even saving him a seat at the table. She sighed dramatically. We're family. We help each other. You know Bailey doesn't have what you have. Yeah. And whose fault is that? I've been paying $1,800 a month toward her tuition for 3 years. Did anyone even remember to say thanks? That's different, Mom said. That's your sister's education. And this was just another excuse to celebrate Bailey. Let Uncle Rick pay for it. He's her biggest fan. Anyway, there was a pause. Then Mom said, your father wants to talk to you. I heard some shuffling. Then Dad's voice. Son, this attitude isn't like you. Maybe it should have been, I replied. Maybe if I'd stood up for myself sooner, you all would have stopped taking advantage. Nobody's taking advantage, he said, sounding offended. We're just asking you to chip in for a family celebration. A celebration I wasn't even welcome at, I reminded him. And by chip in, you mean pay the entire $1,750 bill. Your sister just got an amazing opportunity, Dad said, ignoring what I just said. And Uncle Rick has always been so supportive of her. Yeah, I noticed, I said sarcastically. It's wild how he had time to make it to all her high school plays, but somehow missed my college graduation. That's not fair, Dad said. He had a work thing, right? A work thing. Just like you guys had a memory thing when you couldn't remember to save me a seat at the table. Dad sighed. Look, we know you've been generous with Bailey's tuition, and we appreciate that. Do you, though? I cut him off. Because it feels like you just expect it. Like it's my job to fund your golden child while you all throw parties. I'm not really invited to. That's not how it is, really. Then why is it that I've paid over $60,000 toward her education and I still get treated like I'm not part of this family? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Well, here's what's going to happen. I'm not paying for Uncle Rick's dinner. I'm not paying Bailey's tuition anymore either. You can't do that. Mom shouted in the background. I laughed. Watch me. You want Bailey to finish college? Tell Uncle Rick to pay for it. He makes 6 figures at his law firm. Or maybe you and Dad can figure it out for once instead of relying on me. You're being ridiculous and disrespectful, Dad said. But I could hear the panic in his voice. No, what's ridiculous is expecting me to bankroll a family that doesn't even respect me enough to save me a chair. I took a deep breath. So here's the deal. You can handle Bailey's college costs or let precious Uncle Rick do it. Either way, my wallet is closed permanently. Dad's voice got serious. Son, you need to think about what you're doing here. This isn't just about one dinner. You're right, I said. It's about years of me being treated like I don't matter unless you need my money. That's not true, he protested. But it sounded weak, even to him. Oh, really? When's the last time you celebrated anything I accomplished? When I got that promotion last year, did anyone suggest going out to dinner? When I closed on my condo, did anyone offer to help me move in? Hell, when's the last time you called me just to see how I'm doing without asking for money? More silence. I've been paying Bailey's tuition because I thought that's what family does. But family also respects each other. Family makes sure everyone has a seat at the table, literally and figuratively. Mom grabbed the phone again. So, you're just going to abandon your sister? Let her drop out of college? Hell yeah, I'm abandoning her. And you, too, I said, surprising myself. And I'm no longer setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. Bailey's education is your responsibility, not mine. I was helping out of kindness, and you all took advantage of that. We never asked you to pay her tuition, Mom said. The gaslighting was real. Are you serious right now? Dad literally sat me down after my first big bonus and said, and I quote, your sister needs help with college, and you're doing so well now. What was I supposed to say? That was a suggestion, not an order, she tried. I laughed again. Right? Just like this Venmo request was a suggestion. Give me a break. You guys have been guilting me into paying for Bailey for years, and I'm done with it. You're going to regret this, Mom said, her voice cold. Don't come crying to us when you need something. When have I ever come crying to you for anything? I asked. I've been handling my own life since I was 17. You made sure of that. I hung up before she could respond. The fallout and public exposure for the next 2 days, my phone blew up with texts and calls from the entire family. My parents, Bailey, Uncle Rick, even cousins I barely talked to, all suddenly very concerned about my attitude problem and how I was hurting Bailey's future. Bailey sent me this lengthy text about how I was ruining her life and being selfish, and how she always looked up to me, which was news to me. Uncle Rick called and left a voicemail about how disappointed he was in me and how he expected better. My dad texted that we needed to talk like men about this situation. My mom just kept sending Venmo requests, each with increasingly guilt-tripping descriptions like Bailey's future depends on this, and family supports family. None of them, not one, acknowledged the actual issue, that they invited me to a dinner and didn't even save me a seat, that they treat me like an outsider unless they need my money, that they've been taking advantage of me for years. Then I checked Facebook, and that's when I truly lost it. My mom had posted this lengthy, pitiful story. As a mother, sometimes your heart breaks when your children make choices you don't understand. Our son has always been blessed with success, while our daughter has needed more support to find her way. Recently, he's decided to withdraw financial support for his sister's education over a simple misunderstanding at a family dinner. We're devastated that he would punish his sister this way when she's just starting to thrive. Please keep our family in your thoughts as we try to figure out how to keep Bailey in school. The comments were full of people calling me selfish, heartless, a terrible brother. Bailey posted, too. Never thought my own brother would try to ruin my future because his feelings got hurt. Guess money changes people. Uncle Rick jumped in with, some people don't understand what family means. Always thought better of him. My inbox was flooding with messages from relatives and family friends. How could you do this to Bailey? Your poor parents. I thought you were better than this. I'm sitting there looking at my phone, feeling my blood pressure spike. No mention of how they've treated me for years. Just me being painted as the villain because I finally stood up for myself. Time to go nuclear. I pulled up my banking records and screenshotted 3 years of monthly payments to Bailey's University. I found the texts where my parents suggested I start paying. I dug up old messages where I told them about achievements, and they barely responded. I even found a photo from last Christmas where everyone got gifts except me. Oh, we didn't know what you'd want was the excuse. I found the email I got when I was promoted to senior developer last year, which I forwarded to my parents with great news in the subject line. Their response, that's nice. By the way, Bailey needs money for textbooks this semester. I found the invitation to my condo warming party that none of them showed up to because Bailey had a cold. Not even the flu, just a cold. I found the credit card statement from 2 Christmases ago when I spent over $600 on thoughtful gifts for my family. A nice watch for Dad. He'd mentioned his broke. A spa day package for Mom. And concert tickets for Bailey to see her favorite band. My gift from them, a $25 Amazon gift card that still had, from Uncle Rick and Aunt Linda, crossed out on the envelope. They literally re-gifted me something they didn't want. Even worse, I found screenshots of Bailey's Instagram stories flexing her spring break trip to Cancun last year, a trip that happened right after I sent an extra $2,000 when my parents said Bailey was struggling financially and might have to drop out if she couldn't pay for some essential school fees. Meanwhile, she's posting pics doing shots at Senior Frogs with the caption, "College life is tough." I dug up texts from when I had my appendix removed last year and was in the hospital for 3 days. My parents sent a single, "Hope you feel better soon," text and never visited, even though they live 40 minutes away. Their excuse? Bailey had midterms, and they needed to be there for her during this stressful time. I was literally recovering from emergency surgery alone. The more I looked, the more evidence I found of this one-sided relationship. It's not just in my head. It's documented in countless texts, emails, and social media posts. A whole digital record of being treated like an afterthought by the people who are supposed to care about me most. Cutting ties and finding peace, then I posted the truth. Paid $1,800 per month for my sister's tuition. 3 years, over $60,000. No thanks, no recognition. Thought that's what family did. Showed up to a dinner I was invited to. No seat, no place. Just a Venmo request the next day for $1,750. That's not family. That's freeloading with a guest list. I'm not the family wallet anymore. They didn't save me a seat. Now they don't get a cent simple. I attach screenshots, tuition payments, text messages, every ignored milestone, and every time they reach for my wallet, but not the phone. Then I hit post. Within hours, the tide started turning. People who'd been criticizing me started backpedaling. I had no idea you'd been paying so much. Why didn't your parents mention this? Even some of my cousins reached out privately. My cousin Megan, who I was always pretty close with growing up, called me that night. I had no idea you were the one paying Bailey's tuition. She said, the way your mom talked about it, I thought they were working extra jobs or something. Nope. I told her, just me working one job and handing over a big chunk of my paycheck every month. And that dinner, that was messed up, she said. I wasn't there, but my mom was, and she said it was weird how they didn't have a seat for you. Yeah, well, apparently I was only invited to foot the bill, I said. I'm sorry, Megan said. That's really crappy of them. It was the first genuine apology I'd gotten from anyone in my family. And even though Megan wasn't responsible, it still meant something. Bailey tried damage control. He's twisting everything to make himself look good. He's always been jealous of me, and now he's trying to ruin my life. I posted a screenshot of my bank statement showing the monthly $1,800 payments with her university's name on them. Facts don't care about your feelings, sis. Uncle Rick posted some rant about airing family laundry and how real men handle things privately, but got ratioed to hell. I responded publicly. Real men also show up to their nephew's college graduation, instead of making excuses. But what would I know? My parents went silent. Radio silence. Not a text, not a call, nothing. 3 days after dropping my post announcing the end of my role as the family ATM, I finally did what I should have done a long time ago. No dramatics. No lengthy phone calls, no empty threats. I opened up my laptop, logged into Bailey's University tuition portal, and stared for a moment at the balance I'd carried on my back like Atlas for the past 3 years. Then calmly, I clicked Cancel Autopay. I removed my bank account details and deleted every trace of my financial information. The little window popped up with, "Are you sure you want to remove this account?" Damn right I was sure. I confirmed it and watched the screen reload. Payment method, none. Financial sponsor, none. My name vanished from their billing system like it had never been there at all. I sat back in my chair, sipping coffee and enjoying the silence. Honestly, I thought I might feel guilty, but instead, I felt damn good. This was long overdue, but I knew Bailey wouldn't let it end there. A few hours later, my phone started lighting up with notifications. 3 missed calls and a flurry of texts from Bailey popped up in quick succession. What the hell? Did you seriously stop the payments? They're threatening to drop me from my classes if tuition isn't paid by tomorrow. This isn't funny. Call me. Funny thing, for someone who didn't think I'd show up to a dinner, Bailey sure seemed confident I'd keep showing up to pay her bills. I ignored every single message. She didn't deserve a single reply. Besides, I'd already made it clear in my post. Let Uncle Rick, the family cheerleader, step up. And sure enough, within hours, Bailey took the bait. She must have panicked hard, realizing the gravy train had finally come to a grinding halt, because the next text I got from her was equal parts hilarious and pathetic. Uncle Rick isn't answering my calls or texts. Can you please just fix this? One last time. Oh, how the mighty had fallen. Her precious uncle, who loved showing up to her volleyball matches and recitals, but conveniently missed my graduation, ghosted her at the first sign of financial responsibility. Predictable, but satisfying. As hell. My parents weren't far behind. My phone rang again. Mom, this time. She left an angry voicemail demanding to know what game I thought I was playing, shouting something about Bailey's future being in jeopardy. Still no apologies, still no accountability. Just entitlement. I listened to it exactly once, chuckled softly, and hit delete. I felt no obligation to bail them out again. Then Dad chimed in via text. Still playing the guilt card. Son, this is serious. Bailey could lose her place at college. Family doesn't abandon family. I fired back one reply. Cold and simple. You taught me exactly what abandonment looks like. I blocked his number immediately after. No hesitation. The newfound freedom in the following days, the reality started setting in. Bailey was scrambling, desperately trying to save face. Mutual friends messaged me, sending screenshots of her Instagram rants about fake family and cryptic, sorrowful stories about trust issues. But privately, she kept frantically reaching out, begging friends, cousins, anyone who might front her tuition money. One cousin even messaged me, amused by her desperation. Bailey asked me for a small loan of $1,800. Told her I'd thought you'd appreciate the heads up. I replied with just a laughing emoji. Karma's funny like that. Eventually, Uncle Rick resurfaced. Long enough to send me exactly one passive-aggressive text. Hope you're satisfied with the drama you've caused. I didn't hesitate with my reply. You ghosted Bailey faster than you ditched my graduation. Proud of you. Then I blocked him too. It felt damn good. About a week later, Aunt Linda dropped by unexpectedly. She'd always been the one relative who seemed to have her head on straight. Over coffee, she finally let me in on a secret she'd held back for years. You remember Thanksgiving when you won that science fair? Linda asked vaguely. I shrugged. I was what, 10? You were glowing. Couldn't wait to show everyone your medal. But every time you tried, your mom would jump in and gush about Bailey's latest recital. Afterward, I called her out on it. Told her she was damaging you. I leaned forward. What did she say? Linda sighed, rolling her eyes. Said you were strong and independent. Didn't need the praise. Bailey was special, she said, and needed encouragement. Hearing that didn't even sting anymore. It just confirmed what I'd already known deep down. I wasn't imagining anything. In the following weeks, things began settling. Bailey eventually figured something out. Rumor had it she dropped to part-time classes and took on a part-time job at a coffee shop near campus. My parents continued their Facebook theatrics, cryptically lamenting the pains of parenthood, conveniently leaving out how they treated me. Like a disposable ATM. As for me, I didn't look back. I used that extra $1,800 a month to finally do things for myself. I booked a solo trip to Japan, started mentoring high school kids, teaching them coding, students who valued every second of guidance. My therapist praised the boundaries I'd set, but honestly, I didn't need anyone's validation anymore. Last weekend, I had a barbecue at my place. Nothing fancy, just good friends, burgers, and genuine laughs. At one point, someone asked, "Ever regret pulling the plug?" I took a slow sip of my drink, then shook my head. Only regret is not doing it sooner. Later that night, my phone buzzed again, a direct message from Zoe, Bailey's best friend, saying Bailey was still bad-mouthing me, claiming I was heartless, controlling, even cruel. Zoe ended it with, "I never believed her. And after seeing your post, it's obvious she's just spoiled. Glad you stood up for yourself." I smiled, deleted the message without replying, and leaned back in my chair. It felt right. The final door had closed behind me, and the silence was golden. So maybe I'm still the villain in their story, but in mine, I'm the guy who finally learned to stop funding disrespect. And damn, it feels good.